All right, people, thinking man here. And I got to looking at this FBI report. You know, the one that from the Michigan State Police. The officer had that gun that went off and had his keys in his hand, and ain't no way anybody touched it. Got witnesses that nobody else, he didn't touch it, right? It just went off. So I got to reading on it a little bit, and I want to bring up a few things. One thing that caught me off guard is right at the very beginning on page 3. It talks about the subject firearm while in the holster was removed from the member's leg and placed in the evidence bag for further evaluation on August 2nd. Now it happened on July 31st. August 2nd, BRF was requested to conduct an evaluation on the subject pistol. All right. So they took it off his leg, put it in the evidence bag, going to take it to the FBI. All right. So nobody monkeyed with it. That's what they're saying. All right. And then on the 31st, when the gun went off, several minutes prior to the uncommanded firing, the MSP motor officer conducted approximately 3 presentation drills from the holster to practice acquiring the red dot. All right. Now, they get the gun, right? And this is M18. It's actually got the same light that he had, and this is the same holster that the officer had. And we're empty. And so what they're claiming is it was in this holster and locked, and it went off. Nobody touched it. All right, but here's what's strange. All right, now, and I'm going to show you right here. And then I'm going to go outside on the range and I'm going to show you something. But I'll show you here in just a second. Prior to manipulating the firearm or holster, x-rays were taken to determine the condition of the weapon and any meaningful observation since the firearm had not been altered since the incident. All right? They're saying that, so otherwise it hadn't been touched or nothing. There was no abnormal observations related to the firearm or signs of foreign objects in the holster as seen below. And they showed the x-ray picture of it. And you can find this online in a PDF file and look it over yourself. They basically, in a nutshell, they were never able to get the gun to go off. They milled a hole in the slide so the spring that holds the striker safety, could get out of position and possibly fail, and then they're manually pushing down the sear and all that. But anyway, and then they show this picture of the x-ray, which I'll throw it up here. You can't make much out of it. But anyway, they're showing there's a spent case in the barrel. So the gun shows up to FBI. It's got an empty case in the barrel. That was the one that fired in the squad room. And as visible in the x-ray, the firearm had one fired case in the chamber and had appeared to reset while in the holster as seen in the images below. It appeared to reset while in the holster. They say so. They even put it on after they took the gun out, they put it on a coordinate measure machine and measured it and confirmed, in fact, the gun it indicated a full and proper reset of the trigger while in the holster. So anyway, at this point, I'm like, this ain't nothing but a witch hunt. And then they've got this picture of, they're saying, and they were able to fire the gun with a set of keys, and there's a scrape on the trigger guard. Keys were in his hand, but he wasn't fooling with his gun. But my big point on this is, right out of the gate, they're telling us that this gun fired off in the holster while it was locked in, and somehow this slide came back. It's got to come back about a ½ inch. I haven't measured it, but on these guns, to reset the trigger, all right, I'm going to go slow with it. There's the first click. All right, so that's how far it's got to come back to fully reset, right? So they're trying to tell us this gun came back. Now, I've got the hood up. Actually, you know, let me put it down and pull. Well, I can't get to the slide. All right, so they're telling us that this thing reset in this holster. I might be able to get maybe almost 1/8 of an inch pull out of it. So anyway, that's what they're wanting, thinking we're stupid enough to believe. So I'm gonna go out here and we're gonna fire a few shots out of it in the holster. We're gonna see if we can get it to reset like the FBI and the Michigan State Police and all these guys are saying. You know what happens if an officer fires his gun off by accident? He can lose his job, right? So just keep that in mind when you hear some of these cases. You know, oh, it was in the holster, nobody touched it. Even his buddies around, it's his co-workers. You think they're not going to vouch for him? So just throwing that out there. You know, I'm old enough to know humans will cover their own ass and they will tell a lie to do it. So we're going to go out here and I'm going to shoot a few and we'll see if we can get it to reset in the holster. All right, so we've got the M18 and the Alien Gear Rapid Force holster. This is the one that the FBI investigated, that the Michigan State Police, you know, said that it went off in the holster. They pulled it off the guy's leg, threw it in the evidence bag, took it to the FBI, and then they checked it. They said it had a spent case in the barrel and the trigger had been reset while holstered. Reset while holstered. That should have been a red flag right there. So anyway, so what I'm going to do, I've got one live round, and after that I got dummies, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put one in it, load it up. I'm going to put it all the way in the holster and lock it down. All right, and then I've got this little pick and I'm going to fire it off. So if what the FBI and the Michigan State Police are saying is true, then when this round fires, the trigger should be reset, right? That's what they're claiming in the FBI report. So I'm going to reach in with this pick and I'm going to fire it off when this mosquito gets off of me. Shooting at our berm over here. All right. So, if it reset, then we'll hear the trigger pop. Nothing. It's deader than 3 o'clock. There's the dummy rounds. There's the spent case. So, bottom line is, this Alien Gear holster, the trigger's not going to reset in it. So either Michigan State Police line, the FBI, somebody's not being straight up. Because, you know, they claim they pulled it off his leg, threw it in the evidence bag, went to the FBI with it. Well, that's not what happened. That gun was either fired when it wasn't in the holster, or they pulled it out of the holster, monkeyed with it, and then put it back in saying they didn't. Either way it goes, somebody's not being straight with us. Because in this condition right here, you can't pull this slide. Because anybody that's fooled with these type of holsters, they know they lock in on this cut right here. So the slide cannot move. So anyway, I just want to show y'all that. You know, you can look at FBI report up where they talk about all that. They actually put the gun on a coordinate measure machine so they can measure to verify that it was actually reset, fully reset. And I mean, you know, how stupid can that be? So I kind of smell a little rat on that one. They need to be straight up with people and quit lying to us. Thanks for watching. Okay, I'm going to try one more thing with this M18. Got one more live round. And I got the dummies after it. Throw it in there. Load it up. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this thing in the holster somewhat. And I'm holding it back here, hands out of the way. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to simulate if my finger was in the way when I holstered it. Can we get a trigger reset compared to it being fully holstered? Because what I'm thinking, maybe the cop had his finger on the trigger when he holstered it. So let's just see what we get. Maybe I won't lose a finger. All right, so I don't know if anything ejected. It did eject. So now I've got a dummy round in there. So it did reset. So putting it in with my finger, it didn't have enough drag on it to stop the slide, and it actually ejected the shell and loaded one of these dummy rounds and reset the trigger. So if you go by that, then maybe that's what happened. He was putting his gun in the holster after doing his little acquiring the red dot drill and had his finger in the way. It went off, and then they just said, well, hey, we're not going to say that because you could lose your job over that. We're just going to put it back in there and say that it just went off in the holster, because you know how them P320s are, you know. So somebody's not being straight up. I don't know who, but either FBI or the Michigan State Police, who knows. But anyway, thanks for watching.